up. As you know by now, the man who led the Fox News channel to the top of the cable heap was fired this week. Let go in the wake of a barrage of sexual harassment claims that hit the tipping point on April 1st. It was this front-page New York Times article from 3 weeks ago that set the wheels in motion.
Caution, you are about to enter the no spin zone.
But the world was spinning around Bill O'Reilly. The Times discovered that Fox paid millions of dollars in secret settlements to women who claimed O'Reilly had harassed them. And then the drip, drip, drip began.
Fire Bill O'Reilly!
Demonstrators called for his firing. There were boycotts, and over a 2-week period, more than 50 advertisers bailed on the factor. Then, in the middle of his 2-week vacation, it all came to a crashing end.
Today, while Bill O'Reilly was enjoying an audience with the Pope, Fox fired the man with the biggest audience in cable television.
O'Reilly's takedown was big news everywhere, none more so than the Times, where the daily podcast reporter Michael Barbaro took a visit to the business section of the paper.
I'm standing in front of the media group, which is completely crazed right now, and every single reporter here is working on the same story, which is that Bill O'Reilly has just been fired from Fox News.
O'Reilly said the charges against him were unfounded, that his departure was driven by the far left, something Times media critic Jim Rutenberg scoffs at.
It's laughable. You're telling me that Rupert Murdoch and Fox News are going to buckle under pressure from liberal groups? Are you kidding me? It's like everything they stand against, so I just don't buy it.
Well, maybe it's not that laughable. At any rate, Fox News is moving on.
There is change coming to Fox News, to the channel, and to this program. We've got big shoes to fill. We're going to do our best.
Our guess is your best won't be good enough. All right. I want to be consistent here, Marjorie, as I've been for the last couple of weeks. That is, I do not like the way this came down. I think it was a lot of pressure from the media, a lot of pressure from social groups. He was not fired over sexual harassment. He was fired because it was a business decision, because advertisers were bailing. This was not some moral, ethical move on the part of Fox News. And if they had really thought that what he did was so serious, A, they wouldn't have re-signed his contract, and B, they would have let him go in 2004 when the first episode approached. And I just think, the guy had been there for 21 years. He was the brand name of the network. I don't think this is the right way to do it.
Well, I don't know that it was they did it for very crass reasons. I think you're right, absolutely. When you have 50 advertisers bail, that's you're toast, you're done. But I also think that that Fox, adding to the crassness, they have a problem with Bill O'Reilly beyond this, and that is he's 67 years old. His audience is almost that old and getting older, and at some point, they had to find some way to get rid of him in order to appeal to a younger demographic. So
that is cynical.
It is cynical, but I think at this point he gave them the opening and they took advantage of it. But it was, you're right, don't give Fox any credit at all for doing this for some kind of ethical reasons.
No. And I also think it was the younger generation of leadership at Fox trying to put its mark on the network. I agree with you where I don't think this had anything to do with them feeling overly upset about what he may have allegedly done. If, in fact, that had been the case, you would have heard a full-throated, apology that they condoned this for all these years, right, and they truly, have this heartfelt feeling for all the women or whatever it may be, but you really didn't hear that. And it really does boil down to a money decision and to management saying, we want to move this network in a different direction for the next generation, right? Because that's someone that they certainly knew that they weren't going to have around for many, many more years.
Well, the audience is, by definition, of all the cable news channels, old, although older on Fox than on the other two. They gave up a lot of profits over the next 5 years by making this move now. They didn't have to do it now. I don't think they would have done it if they thought there was any chance that the advertisers were going to come back. But I think that they believed that as long as O'Reilly was there was going to be one revelation after another after another. I mean, at the end, on a day when apparently the Murdochs had already decided O'Reilly had to go, we learned about yet this other woman coming forth who claimed that O'Reilly would come up to her and grunt like a wild boar, which was probably
and called her hot chocolate. chocolate.
Oh,
that
yeah.
just stretched credulity for me.
Well, whether it was true or not, this was going to happen over and over and over, and that's why I think they believed the advertisers were never going to come back.
Well, we didn't mention Sky News, the $14 billion deal that the Murdochs had facing them. They had to have some, they had to look like they were respectable in that. So I think the $14 billion may have outweighed the hundreds of millions. But I'm going to say what I said to you on the radio today. I'll take it, no matter how he get out of there, because you had two powerful men, Roger Ailes and Bill O'Reilly, forced out. You could say it had to do with money, but it also had to do with social media and the women out there every single solitary day, and a younger generation of women working at Fox News that are saying to themselves and their bosses, so he comes back, and I worry about whether he's going to grunt like a wild boar at me when he comes down the hallway. The world has changed, and I think this is a very powerful message, I think, about a different kind of world, and I don't think when you say it's trans credulity, I just got to push back a little bit and say, in these kind of cases, it's always the women whose credulity is questioned, if it's a sexual harassment or a sexual assault, and I believe every single one of them.
I just feel like in the end, there was a huge piling on the part of the media. This would not have happened had it not been for the New York Times, and everybody jumped on what the New York Times reported. And then in the end, when he did leave, there was a triumphant, a gleeful, a gloating. If you just go look anywhere, online, in the newspaper, anywhere, it's all this ugly, time to go and all this horrible stuff.
Because he's a moralizer, because he was saying that, he's talking about, these African-American girls, they shouldn't be having babies at 14 years old. I'm old school values. He's setting himself up as the moral arbiter while he's running around calling women on the phone, doing things on the other end of the phone that I don't want to mention on television. So to me, that is part of it. He was a total
But I'm saying it was on part of the media there was a gleeful tone.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, the other problem, too, is he made himself come across in a way that nobody could stand him. So, I mean, if you're going to act that way on the way up, I don't think it's necessarily unexpected that people are going to cheer on your way down. And that doesn't bother me.
And you're not feeling sorry for him financially because he's walking away with quite a bit of money here, right?
$25 million.
Which is why another indication that this had nothing to do with sexual harassment. That's not why they fired him, or they wouldn't have given him that money. They fired him because it was a business deal gone bad.
No, they could have been obligated because of his lawyers and the way they drawn up the contract, because he didn't admit he did any wrongdoing, so maybe he couldn't get out in the
Well, there was a clause in that new contract that specifically spoke to this issue, so I don't know.
But he didn't admit he did anything wrong.
I know, but
it was not adjudicated. So I think it would be difficult to enforce.
According to the law firm, it was adjudicated. They believed everybody they spoke to, except Wendy Walsh, by the way, who was that one who said he lured her up to the...
And I forget whether it was James or Lachlan Murdoch, but he gave a statement to the press in which he made it clear that the Murdochs believed the women for the most part.
Right.
Maybe not every detail.
I believe the women. Let me get it straight. I do believe the women. I thought the one that came forward at the last minute was... I don't know.
Well, no one, like I said, we didn't believe any of the kids in the Catholic Church thing either.
Yeah, we did.
Well, we didn't. Not for years.